Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Shikamaru and Temari are secretly engaged in Naruto got Harem with Hinata Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please give me hype instead of comment and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. So where's Temari? Choji asked as he ate his third piece of birthday cake. Oh, she's out somewhere, Shikamaru said blandly. What? You mean she's not even here to attend your party? Urmana said in shock. Well, she was here earlier. She had pulled him into her room and quickly shut the door. After a bit of kissing and hugging she called a halt. Listen lazy, I'm going to get going in a minute. I'm afraid I won't be able to stay for the party. What? He looked at her in horror. But I'm turning 15. I thought you and I would. Yes, she asked innocently. He frowned at her, feeling really hurt. You made a promise. Did I? I don't seem to recall. What did I promise exactly? He felt himself blushing. Well, you sort of said that, when I turned 15 that well. Yes. The way she just stood there grinning at him, he felt as if he were under a spotlight. Never mind, he mumbled, feeling completely crushed. She shrugged. Anyway, I wanted to give you my present before I left. She took out a tiny flat box, perhaps 2 square inches, and handed it to him. Here you go. This is your present, he asked dubiously. Haven't you ever heard that good things come in small packages? She gave him a quick kiss. Be sure to open that when you're alone, bye. He watched her go, not believing she was skipping out of his party. Glumly he opened up her present. What he found inside was a key and a business card for the Falling Leaf, the top hotel in Konoha. Flipping the card over, he saw some writing on the back. Suite 507 p.m. Don't come early. Don't come late. Don't knock. Shikamaru slowly smiled as he thought he just might get what he wanted for his birthday after all. It's all right, we have something planned for later. Urmana's eyes lit up. But Choji asked. Like what? Oh, just something. Oh, Choji want to try some ice cream with that cake? Urmana mentioned offhandedly. Choji nodded and the two of them headed off. Urmana sent her cousin an encouraging smile. Looking around, Shikamaru decided it was a very strange party. His mom had put it together, of course, with a little help from Temari. It was a kids' party even though there were no children present. There were kids' games no one was playing. There was of course cake and ice cream and silly hats. He got the feeling his mom was having a tough time admitting he wasn't so little anymore. The dance floor was where the guests could act like adults. He looked at all the couples. Asuma was dancing with Kurenai. Of course they were, just friends. Sure, and he and Temari weren't really a couple either. There was Ino with her latest boy toy. What was his name? Kenny? Kino? Shikamaru shrugged, it didn't really matter. They had been together for close to a month now, which meant he had just about reached his expiration date. Ino had chased after Sasuke for about 6 months. But apparently she'd finally gotten tired of his indifference. That was when she began what he, Temari, and Choji called her Boy of the Month Club. She had run through a long list of boyfriends with none of them lasting more than a month. Her reputation had suffered a bit. Especially after that disastrous week-long thing with Kiba. If even half the things Kiba said were true. Ino denied everything, of course, and their breakup had been so acrimonious that Yamanaka and Inazaka were still on bad terms. His mom had decided it would be best not to invite Kiba. She had invited Sasuke even though he still had no nice thoughts about the Uchiha. The stuck-up had refused, which Shikamaru thought was for the best. Thoughts of Sasuke naturally sent his eyes to where Sakura and Lee were dancing. They easily had the strangest relationship of anyone there. Stranger even than Neji and Tenten, who were also dancing. Those two were more than friends and less than a couple. But at least they both knew who they wanted. Lee and Sakura had been together for over a year now. If together was the right word for what they had. If you asked Lee, Sakura was his girlfriend and they were dating. If you asked Sakura, she would tell you how wonderful and sweet Lee was to her. She would tell you he was special to her and that she cared for him. What she wouldn't say was that he was her boyfriend. If you asked her if she and Lee were a couple, she would dance around the subject, not really confirming or denying anything. When Lee called her his girlfriend, she never corrected him. When he told her he loved her, she thanked him and kissed him but never said it back. She would often go watch him train, but only when he was working with Sasuke. It seemed painfully obvious to everyone but Lee that she was still in love with her former teammate. Given the little fact that Lee and Sasuke were both training under Guy, that made things interesting. There was Hinata politely turning down another request for a dance. Who would have ever guessed that shy little Hinata would turn into such a beauty? Back in her academy days, she had been so shy and quiet as to be nearly invisible despite being a Hyuga. Well, the days of Hyuga Hinata being easy to miss were behind her. Not only was she one of the top kunoichi in the village, she had developed into one of Konoha's most ravishing beauties as well. She had an endless line of admirers who were always looking for a date. She politely, but firmly, turned them all down. She refused to accept any of the flowers, candies, or love letters that were sent to her. She had loudly proclaimed that there was only one man whom she loved and wanted. Until his return, she would wait for him faithfully. She and Temari had grown to become good friends. Naruto had gone to stay with the Sabaku clan for a week. While there, he and Jiraiya had been convinced by Gaara to extend their stay to a couple months so they could witness Gaara's coronation as Kazekage. During that time, Temari had grown rather fond of the hyperactive blonde. Upon her arrival in Konoha as ambassador, she had delivered a letter and some gifts to Hinata on Naruto's behalf. The two had grown close. Their friendship based on their mutual affection for Naruto. It amazed Shikamaru how the loud ninja could bring people together even when he was hundreds of miles away. Bye mom, bye dad, I have to go meet Temari. Yoshino gave her son a fishy stare. You're leaving your own party? Well, I sort of have to. Temari has something planned for me. He managed to sound disinterested but couldn't keep just the slightest color from touching his cheeks. His parents shared a certain look and Shikamaru readied himself for a painful series of comments and questions. Well, you don't want to keep Temari waiting, dear. She gave her son a peck on the cheek and headed towards the kitchen. Have fun, Shika. His dad gave him a nod and followed his wife. Relieved at not being put through the usual painful interrogation, he slipped out of the house and headed for the falling leaf. My little baby is about to become a man, Yoshino said morosely. He's been a man for quite a while now. Shikaku said. Maybe we're wrong about all this. She said hopefully. Dear, when Temari booked the honeymoon suite, I don't think she was doing it so they could play shogi. I know, she said glumly. Still, I'm glad he waited as long as he did. Shikaku chuckled. Oh, I think Temari had more to do with that decision than he did. She sighed. I'm old. Shikaku took his wife into his arms and pulled her close. You are as beautiful now as on the day I met you. He gave her a long slow kiss and let his hands run along her back and a bit lower. Shall we go upstairs? He whispered. We have guests. She reminded him. So? She laughed and shook her head, suddenly not feeling quite so old. Fine, but try to be quiet. No screaming, all right. Nodding, he took her hand and led her upstairs. He arrived outside the suite door at precisely 6:55. Though he was quivering with anticipation, he decided to wait. He didn't want to do anything that would upset her. After the 5 longest minutes of his life, he took out the key and slipped it into the lock. The door opened. The lights were turned off, but it wasn't dark. Dozens of candles gave off a soft and warm light. The scent of jasmine hung sweetly in the air. Along the floor there was a path of rose petals leading to another open door. Temari, he called nervously. There was no reply. He shut and locked the door behind him. His heart was pounding and his hands were shaking. He could not remember ever being this nervous and scared. And he had come close to death in 3 separate occasions. Taking a deep breath, he followed the path of rose petals. When he got to the door, he looked inside. There she was. She was lying on a large plush bed wearing nothing but a white silk teddy. Her hair was loose and some of it was draped over one shoulder. One hand cradled her face while the other rested on a smooth and creamy thigh. She smiled at him in a way that filled his mind with wicked and wonderful thoughts. "Happy birthday, Shikamaru," she said in a voice that could have melted butter. She let her hand run slowly along her thigh. "Do you like your present?" Nodding dumbly, he pulled off his Jonin vest. "It's exactly what I wanted." Her tongue ran slowly over her red lips. "Are you coming to me or are you waiting for me to crawl over to you?" She purred. He felt a shudder work its way through his entire body. In an instant he was lying on top of her in the bed. His jacket and shirt seemed to disappear. His mouth was on hers, eagerly kissing and searching. He felt her warm and tender body pressed beneath his. She grabbed both his hands and put them where he'd been trying to get them for more than a year. He gasped in pure pleasure. They were a wonder to behold and to feel. "I love you," he panted. "I love you too. Now get those pants off." There were soft caresses, hard scratches, kisses, bites, a little pain, and much greater pleasure. They hurt each other and pleased each other and broke each other in. At last, as they were both happily spent, they lay cuddling together under the thick blankets. "How was it?" she asked, feeling just a little vulnerable and exposed. "Amazing." His voice was so truthful and filled with wonder that she couldn't help but sigh and try to hold him even closer. She felt completely at peace and completely certain that he was the one. What they had just done could not be anything but right. He looked at her and gently stroked her hair. "Did it hurt?" he whispered. "Yes, but only a little and in a good way." She took a hold of his hand and pressed it to her cheek. She loved his hands. They were so soft and gentle and they knew exactly the right way to touch her. "Why are you crying?" he asked her tenderly. "Because I am so happy. I love you, Temari. I love you, Shikamaru." Nothing would have pleased them more than to have stayed in that nice warm bed all night. But they knew it wasn't possible if they wanted to keep things a secret. They made it back to the house a little after midnight. Both of them were relieved to see it was quiet and all the lights were off. They shared a good night kiss in the darkened hallway before he went to his room and she went to hers. The next morning they all sat down to the usual big breakfast. Temari and Shikamaru had come up with the cover story that they had enjoyed a nice romantic dinner followed by an evening of dancing. They were both relieved when Yoshino accepted that without comment. Yoshino patiently waited until the two of them were drinking tea. "So are you both still virgins?" she asked blandly. Instantly they were spitting up tea and trying not to choke. Yoshino sent her husband a tiny grin. This was going to be fun. At the sight of the open gates and the village just beyond it, the blonde let out a shout of pure joy. As he ran happily back to his home, a wild rush of thoughts went through his mind. Baruka, my apartment, Sakura-chan, Sasuke-tem, Bachan, Shikamaru, Ichiraku Ramen, Hinata-chan, Hinata-chan, Hinata-chan. Slow down, kid, there's no need to be in such a rush. Are you kidding, Aro Senin? I've been gone for more than 2 years. He ran up the side of a column and stood at the top. Hey Konoha, Uzumaki Naruto has come home. He shouted for all to hear. Looking out over the village, he decided it looked just as it had when he left. Oh, I guess they added Bachan to the cliff. Naruto-kun. Naruto-kun, is that you? He looked down to see a pink-haired girl in a red dress calling up to him. Sakura-chan. He leapt down. Naruto, I've missed you. On impulse she ran up and gave her old teammate a hug. Grinning like a madman, he returned it. Hey Sakura-chan, I've missed you too. It's great to see you again. As she stepped back, she noticed something. Hey, you're taller than me. Huh. He put his hand on the top of his head and sent it out. Sure enough, he was a couple inches taller. Ha, I guess I am. Let me look at you, Naruto-kun. Along with getting taller, it also looked like he had gained some muscle tone. He was wearing black pants and jacket that had a thin stripe of orange along the side. He had on his Chunin vest over his jacket. His blonde hair was still spiky and looked a bit longer. She thought he looked quite handsome. He actually reminded her a little of pictures she'd seen of the Yondaime. She gave him a very warm smile. You've grown very handsome, Naruto. You really look like a man. Naruto blushed and scratched the back of his head. He gave her one of his big foxy grins. "Ah, thank you, Sakura-chan." Feeling herself blush a bit, she put her hands behind her back and gave him a demure little smile. "What do you think of how I look? Have I become more womanly since you last saw me?" He gave her a thumbs up. "Don't worry about it, Sakura-chan, you look the same as you always have." Her mood suddenly darkened as she felt a vain throb in her forehead. Looking on, Jiraiya just shook his head. "Kid, you just don't understand a woman's heart." "Hey, is that you, Naruto?" A familiar voice called to him. Looking around, he spotted Shikamaru and Temari coming down the street. They were holding hands. "I thought so. Welcome back," Shikamaru said. "Hey Shikamaru, hey Temari." Seeing them holding hands, he gave them a lopsided grin. "So are you two still dating?" Shikamaru rolled his eyes. "What a silly question. Of course we are." Temari gave him a little grin. "Though I'm not always sure why." "Hey Temari, how is Gaara doing?" Naruto asked. "I haven't seen him since the coronation." "Well, why don't you wait a couple days and you can ask him yourself? He'll be in Konoha the day after tomorrow." "Seriously?" Naruto asked excitedly. "That's right, he's coming here in person to sign the Treaty of Alliance and Friendship between our two villages." She sent Shikamaru a sideways glance. "He may also be making one or two announcements." "Say Naruto, Temari and I have been working on the upcoming Chunin exams along with the treaty. How would you like to help put them on?" Shikamaru asked. "Oh, you want me to be a proctor?" came his eager response. "Not quite," Shikamaru replied. "I was thinking you could help with security on the second phase." Before Naruto could answer, a woman's voice cried out his name. "Naruto-kun." Naruto turned to see a beautiful girl running towards him. "Hinata-chan." He began to run towards her with arms wide open. Seeing that as an invitation, she leapt into his waiting arms. He easily caught her and spun her around, laughing. "Welcome home, Naruto-kun." Hinata wrapped her arms around his neck and eagerly kissed him. As he stopped spinning, he carefully set her down with his arms tight around her waist. Neither of them seemed to mind kissing in public anymore. Temari and Shikamaru looked on the scene with fondness. Sakura felt a slight twinge that inner Sakura insisted could not possibly be jealousy. Jiraiya was busy writing in a notebook. When they finally had to come up for air, Naruto gave her a face-splitting grin. "Hey Hinata-chan. Not so shy anymore, huh?" She blushed a bit and broke eye contact. Naruto took a step back to get a better look at her. Knowing he might be coming home today, Hinata had decided to forego her jacket. She had on tight black pants that halted just below her knees. An equally tight-fitting shirt was short enough to expose her wonderfully flat tummy. As she and Temari had planned, her outfit showed off all her assets quite well. Naruto summed up his opinion rather succinctly. "Wow, Hinata-chan, you are so hot." Her blush deepened, but she looked up to reveal a pleased smile. "Thank you, Naruto-kun. I think you are even more handsome now than you were before." He pulled her close and gave her a kiss that told her she had definitely made the right decision to wait for him. Watching them go, Shikamaru and Temari made the mutual decision to go visit their favorite hotel. Sakura found herself daydreaming about a certain too proud ninja holding her and kissing her like that. Jiraiya smiled and continued writing. "Kid, I take it back. Maybe you do understand a woman's heart. Shouldn't you be checking in with Lady Tsunade?" she asked, but still followed him inside. "Oh, Bachan won't mind if I'm a little late." Taking a look around, he was amazed by what he saw. "I was expecting my apartment to be kind of dusty. It looks great. I stopped by every couple of weeks to dust and look after your things." He smiled at her and she could feel her knees get weak. "You're amazing, Hinata-chan." He put his hands on her hips and gave a little squeeze that brought her up onto her toes. "Really amazing." His voice was low and just the sound of it made her heart beat faster. "Oh, it was nothing." She began to panic as he moved his face in close. Rather than her lips, his mouth aimed at the base of her neck. She also felt his strong hands slide around and behind her hips. "Oh," she gasped at the feel of a little bite. She could feel herself begin to shake and get very hot as his hands gently squeezed and his mouth and tongue made the slow journey up the side of her neck. Where did Naruto-kun learn to do this? He gave her ear a little nibble and a delicious shiver ran down her spine. Hinata-chan. He breathed hot in her ear. Yes, Naruto-kun. She got out as she pressed herself against him. I've really missed you, my Hinata-chan. My Hinata-chan, she thought happily. I've missed you too, Naruto-kun. She could feel how hard and muscled his body was. It was a man's body. I've had dreams about you. His voice ached. Oh, she wasn't hot now, she was burning. And oh, how she wanted to burn. Naughty dreams. His endless blue eyes filled her vision, his body filled her senses, and the warmth of his touch consumed her soul. Me too. She wrapped her legs around his back, her arms around his neck, and her mouth was pressed eagerly against his. Awkwardly but quickly he carried her to his bed. Where is he? Tsunade demanded. I don't know. Jiraiya said sheepishly. You are his sensei. How can you not know where he is? Well, he left with the little Hyuga girl, so I decided to give them some privacy. You pick a fine time to develop a conscience. She turned to one of the other two people in the room. Fine. We'll take care of some other business first. Sasuke. Yes, Hokage-sama. Over the past 2+ years you have successfully completed 95D rank missions without issue or complaint. I have also received a number of highly satisfactory reports on you from Might Guy. She eyed him expectantly. Is it your wish to become again a shinobi of the leaf? It is. He answered seriously. Do you feel you can obey the orders of your superiors? I can, Hokage-sama. Do you understand that should you ever betray this village again you will be declared a missing nin and hunted down and killed? I do. Very well then. She held out a brand new Hitai-ite. I restore you to the rank of genin. Jiraiya will remove the seal. I intend to place you, Sakura, and Naruto on the same team again under Kakashi. Officially you will no longer be Team 7, you will be Team Kakashi. The other person in the room smiled excitedly. Oh Sasuke-kun, that's wonderful. Sakura cooed. It'll be just like the old days. Sasuke gave her a frosty look. Be sure to tell your boyfriend the good news. I'm sure Lee will be excited to know we'll be spending so much time together. Did I hurt you? The scratches on his back still smarted, but he shook his head. It's nothing and I heal fast. Did I hurt you, Hinata-chan? Yes, but it's all right. I'm a medic nin and I've already healed myself. Seeing his look of worry, she explained. It's only like this the first time, it won't be like this from now on. He squeezed her a little tighter beneath the blankets. I'm sorry that I hurt you, Hinata-chan, I never want to do that. You didn't hurt me, Naruto-kun, you made me very, very happy. She rested her head on his chest and let herself enjoy the feel of his arms protectively around her. Naruto-kun. Yes, Hinata-chan. She didn't want to cause a problem, but a part of her needed to know. Where did you learn to do all that? It was wonderful, but where did it come from? Oh, well, I sort of read all of Jiraiya's books. There's sort of a how-to manual on how to please women. Suddenly alarmed, she lifted her head to get a clear look at his eyes. Have you been with other girls? In the whole time he'd been away, she'd never thought to worry about that. Her faith in him was total. She could see the shock in his face as he answered. No, Hinata, I swear all I ever did was read. Until today I've never been with a girl. I love you and only you, Hinata-chan. For someone trained in reading body language, spotting a lie was easy, and Naruto wasn't lying. She could see the truth in his eyes and felt a wave of relief. I believe you, Naruto-kun. She rested her head on his chest again. And I love you too. After a few minutes she lifted her head again. Naruto-kun. Yes, Hinata-chan. She gave him a little smile and he could feel her fingertips dancing across his chest. Want to go again? Really? Seeing his eagerness, she giggled and nodded. I've healed myself so I'm not sore. So if you want, She was cut off by his lips. Naruto had always had incredible endurance. Something for which he'd never been more grateful. Where have you been? Tsunade demanded. I was just hanging out with Hinata. That was 3 hours ago. Even Kakashi's been kept waiting. Just what could you have been doing that would have taken 3 hours? Put on the spot. Naruto began to blush and try to look anywhere but at Tsunade. All at once the truth dawned on everyone. Oh, Tsunade said. Kakashi grinned beneath his mask and applauded. Congratulations, Dobi. Sasuke smirked. Sakura just stared at him incredulously. Inner Sakura. 3 hours. Boy, did Hinata ever luck out. Jiraiya burst into tears of pride and joy. That's my apprentice. She was standing in the Hokage's office in a formal audience, along with Shizune and a few members of the council and a certain member of the Nara clan. Tsunade carefully went over the documents that Temari had presented her. That was mostly for show for the council members. Putting the documents down, she gave Temari a very satisfied smile. Well, everything seems to be in order. I am very pleased to formally welcome you back to Konoha, Ambassador Temari. May I say that it is a special honor to have the Casecage's own sister here in that role. Nothing could better show the Casecage's sincere interest in improving the relations between our two villages. That was also for the benefit of the council. Temari offered Tsunade a bow. Thank you, Hokage-san. Along with his letter, my brother asked me to express our mutual desire not only for a renewed friendship between Leaf and Sand but also an eventual restoration of our alliance. That may prove quite difficult. Council leader Kaharu spoke up. As you well know, Leaf and Sand had just such an alliance for many years. That alliance was terminated by the unprovoked attack of less than a year ago. I know that you are aware of this, as both you and your brother the Casecage were part of the attacking forces. With those words followed a heavy silence. That is true. Temari answered in a quiet but dignified tone. The previous Casecage ordered the attack and we obeyed the order. Perhaps you would like to know who it was that single-handedly defeated my brother, the most powerful Sand Shinobi, during that attack. The Leaf Nin who defeated him was one Uzumaki Naruto. The same Uzumaki Naruto that my brother and I now proudly call friend. He and his sensei, the legendary Jiraiya, have enjoyed an extended stay at my family home and were honored guests at my brother's coronation. If two former enemies can become good friends, then is it truly so impossible to believe that our two villages can as well? Temari knew what many of the council members thought of Naruto. It gave her the deepest satisfaction to witness their distress as she heaped praise on him. She was also sure they would have a hard time digesting the fact that Naruto was a personal friend of the Casecage's. You make a fine point, Ambassador. Tsunade spoke up. I am certain that we can all agree that it is in our own best interests to be friends rather than enemies. There were a few questioning looks, but no one actually disagreed. Now I have arranged a hotel suite for you until a permanent residence can be acquired. Actually, Hokage-san, that will not be necessary. She sent Shikamaru a sly smile. The Nara clan have graciously offered me living quarters and I have accepted their generous offer. Tsunade sent them both a wry look. I can see where you might. However, are you absolutely certain you would not prefer your own private residence? Temari nodded vigorously. The Naras have embraced me and I in turn treasure them. I feel as comfortable in the Nara household as I do in my own. She gave Shikamaru another sidelong glance. There is nowhere else I would rather be. What did you want to talk about, dear? Yoshino asked. They were all sitting around the kitchen table. Since you asked to have a meeting, I presume it's important. Oh, it is, Mom. She looked a bit embarrassed. Shikaku smiled. Well, daughter, I know I'm curious. What is all this about? Well, it's sort of a monetary matter. You're not wanting to pay us rent, are you? Shikaku asked. Don't be ridiculous, dear. Yoshino put in. You are family and don't have to give us anything to stay here. Oh no, it's not that. She assured them. Well then, what is it? Shikaku asked, still amused. She let out a breath. It's about my dowry. You have a dowry? Shikamaru sounded surprised. I don't think any clans in Konoha still practice that tradition, not even the Hyuga. I know we haven't for at least 3 generations. Well, Suna is more traditional. All the noble houses there use dowries to make sure someone suitable will marry them. She frowned. It's sort of like a bribe. Shikamaru smiled. In that case, yours must be pretty big. Shikamaru. Yoshino scolded. Temari sent him a flat look. You know, lazy, I'm starting to think you should be the one bribing me. Shikaku chuckled. I won't say you're wrong, daughter, but let's get back to the matter at hand. Temari slowly nodded. That way it usually works is that upon marriage the money is handed over to the groom's family and it's theirs to do with as they please. The only condition is that should the husband ever divorce his wife, the full amount must be returned to her. Shikamaru nodded. I see, so it's really a bribe to marry the girl and stay married to her, isn't it? You could look at it that way. She said unhappily. I know my own worth and I know you love me for me. But my dowry is attached to me and it needs to be dealt with. Shikamaru shrugged. Well, there's no rush, we have a couple years to deal with it. Actually, I talked to Gara before coming here. I didn't know what the finances of Nara were, you see. My brother agreed that due to the unusual circumstances I could give you access to half of it now. Yoshino smiled. Well, that was nice of you, dear, but we don't need any financial help. Our clan has a net worth of over 1 million ryu. She said proudly. You and Shikamaru can use the money how you like. How much is your dowry, dear? Looking profoundly uncomfortable, Temari looked at the floor and mumbled something. What was that, dear? Looking back up, she took a deep breath. I said 5 million. My dowry is 5 million ryu. Half of which is available to you now. They all stared at her with open mouths. She felt terrible. The last thing she wanted was for any of them to start looking at her in a different way. So, Shikamaru said slowly. 5 million ryu to marry you and stay married to you. He rubbed his chin as though carefully pondering that fact. Yeah, that seems about right. He felt her killer intent and made it to the back door just as she was pulling out her fan. Get back here. She chased him out the door. What do you think? Yoshino calmly sipped some tea. I wonder if the Namikaze estates are available for sale. Shikaku said. Stop it. She grabbed his hand by the wrist and yanked it down. She then pushed him away, bringing their makeout session to an abrupt end. What? He complained. Your hands were wandering. She said firmly. Oh, come on, Temari. Stop whining, it doesn't. Ack. She suddenly jumped up. It's back. Huh. Looking down at the base of the hill, he spotted a large buck poking his head out of the forest. Oh, it's the same one as before. Standing up, he tried to put his arms around her only to have her hold him off. What's wrong? She stared at him as though he were insane. You don't really expect me to make out with you while we're being watched, do you? Shikamaru rolled his eyes. He's only a dear Temari, I promise he won't tell anyone. Pervert. She stomped away. Troublesome. He muttered. Taking out a piece of bread, he made a clicking sound. She looked between the two of them. It's one of you, I know. She said grimly. They all smiled. Well, make a choice. They all said in the same pleasant voice. She placed her hand on the one to her right. Immediately he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Damn it. She poked the one to her left in his chest. Sure enough, this time she made solid contact. I knew it was one of you two. You didn't wait 5 minutes. Shikaku chuckled and dispelled the rest of his bushins. It only took you 6 tries this time. She frowned. It's still not good enough. Shikamaru can do this without even trying. Shikamaru has been doing this since he was 6. Shikaku reminded her. After a few years you'll be just as good as he is. Years? She said glumly. He smiled at her cheerfully. Think of it as quality father-daughter time. Oh, hey, you two. Ino called out to them. Hey, Ino. Shikamaru said. Hey, who is this? Temari asked. Ino glowed and put her arm around the taller red-haired boy. This is Renji, my boyfriend. What happened to Hitsugaya? Shikamaru asked. Oh, him. He didn't understand me at all. Renji gets me. Come on, honey, I'll let you but me lunch. The two of them watched as the new couple left. Too bad, I kind of liked Hitsugaya. Temari said. Shikamaru shrugged. Maybe this one will last. I give it a month. Asuma smiled. You know, Shikamaru, if you wanted to spend more time with your girlfriend you could have just asked. I think Temari is afraid to let him out of her sight. Choji teased. Shikamaru tried to ignore them. Temari, what are you doing here? Temari smiled at him innocently. I'm just going to tag along in case you run into any scary flute players. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. Temari, Asuma, Choji, and I are going on an extended B-rank mission to River Country. You can't just tag along. You have your own responsibilities as ambassador now, remember? She pulled out a folded sheet of paper and handed it to him. Here you go, sweetie pie. Asuma and Choji both laughed at that. Trying to ignore them, he unfolded the paper and quickly read it. You have got to be kidding me. He sent his girlfriend a baleful look. She was just beaming a smile back. What does it say? Asuma asked. Shikamaru handed the sheet over to him. Reading it, Asuma looked up in surprise. A military observer. Temari nodded. That's right. Part of my duties will include observing the forces of Konoha in action and sending my reports back to my government. Your Hokage has been kind enough to permit me to accompany any mission below S rank. But what happens if you get hurt or even killed? Asuma asked. No need to worry about that. She said cheerfully. Gaara sent a letter stating that he would not hold it against Konoha if anything happened to me while on duty. I don't suppose you'll be observing any other squads, will you? Shikamaru asked dryly. Worried someone else will steal me away from you? She teased. No, he said bluntly. Since you have permission from the Hokage, you can come with us. But the safety of the entire team depends on everyone working together. In a combat situation, I expect you to follow my orders. Otherwise, whether you have permission or not, I will not let you join the mission. Asuma stated. No problem. Temari chirped. As they got moving, Asuma wondered if she would be a liability in a combat situation. The backdraft finally let up and they were able to breathe again. Opening their eyes, they saw Temari standing there with a look of pure exultation. They could also see a few square miles of forest had been flattened. At that moment, she turned around. She gave all of them one of her huge eye-closing smiles. How was that? She asked. Asuma and Choji were both speechless. Feeling oddly proud of his ridiculously strong girlfriend, Shikamaru smirked. She also makes the world's best steak. Happy birthday, Shikamaru. She gave him a long and very warm kiss. She had insisted on giving him her present in private. So while everyone else was downstairs enjoying the party, they were in her room. After her kiss, she handed him the large wrapped gift. He opened it carefully. Is this? He looked at her, not believing it. She nodded happily. It's the Cage's old shogi set, a true one-of-a-kind piece. Temari, this is too much, I can't accept this. Gee, that's too bad since Gaara wanted you to have it as well. I guess I'll have to write and tell him how you insulted him by refusing his gift. On second thought, how can I say no? Thanks, Temari, this is a great gift. She smiled. I'm very glad you like it. Grinning, he leaned in close to her. You know, Temari, I think that as a 14-year-old I could probably handle anything a 15-year-old could. Really? She leaned in to whisper in his ear. I can think of one thing that you can't. She nimbly danced away from him and opened her door. Now let's get back to the party. I feel like dancing with you, birthday boy. Hey Temari. Hey Shikamaru. Hey Ino. Shikamaru greeted. Hey. Temari said. Have you met Digo? He's my boyfriend. Temari smiled. Well, that's wonderful. Ino nodded happily. I know, it's so amazing when you find the right person for you. She put her arm around the arm of her current boyfriend. Come on, you can take me clothes shopping. They watched as Ino dragged him in the direction of the shoe stores. Well, I was right, he lasted a month. Shikamaru shrugged. 29 days actually. Close enough. I bet this guy doesn't even last that long. I think he'll last that long. He seems all right. Temari gave him a sweet smile. Care to bet? No, he said flatly. I know better than to bet with you. Knowing you, if I lose, I'll end up dyeing my hair blonde and putting it in 4 ponytails. She continued to smile. What are you complaining about? That would be an improvement. Seeing him not rise to the bait, she tried something else. Oh, okay. No crazy bets, how about we just bet 50 Ryu on how long she's with her current guy? I say he won't last more than 28 days. She held out her hand. Just 50 Ryu. Just the cash. She confirmed. He shook her hand. It's a bet. She suddenly pulled away from him. What? What is it? Shikamaru asked. It's back. She pointed to the large buck that had returned once again. I don't think we can come here to make out anymore. Knowing she was serious, he decided not to argue with her. All right, we can go back to one of our rooms, he said. Temari shook her head. If we do that, your mom will end up walking in on us. We could get a hotel room. If we do that, everyone will think we're having. A huge grin flowered on his face. No, Shikamaru. Fine, we can find a nice quiet club or restaurant somewhere. You want to paw at me in public? Well, there are some quiet spots in the park. You want to make out in the bushes while children are playing nearby? Fine, troublesome woman. Where do you want us to go? She opened her mouth to answer but couldn't think of a place. She sent a look back down to the base of the hill. The large buck was calmly chewing the grass. She looked back at Shikamaru. Oh, the hell with it. She pushed him back down and got back to making out with him. As luck would have it, Ino ran into not just Temari and Shikamaru but Choji and Ermana as well. She put her arms around the rather handsome, solemn, dark-haired boy and made a show of putting her head on his shoulder. This my new boyfriend Zabram, he is just my kind. She gave him a kiss on his cheek. I like my men dark and mysterious. Temari laughed and gave Shikamaru a kiss on the cheek as well. I like mine smart and lazy. Ermana stepped in front of Choji, put her arms around him and gave him long sweet kiss on his lips. When she was done, Choji was looking a little flushed. Ermana turned a bit so she could look directly at Ino. I like mine to be sweet and kind. Ino's smile seemed to crack a bit but she kept it in place. That's great. Really, really, great, I mean really. She grabbed her boyfriend's arm and began to roughly drag him away. Come on, you're buying me a really nice dinner. Shikamaru shook his at the painful scene. He pulled out a 50 Ryu note. Here. Temari grinned as she accepted it. Thank you very much. Want to go again? He thought about it a moment. All right, I say the Sasuke clone lasts 28 days. Temari nodded. Fine, then I'll take 29. Same terms. Sure. Why not? What are you two up to? Choji asked. We're betting on how long Ino stays with her boyfriend. Shikamaru explained. You two are actually betting on how long it will take Ino to break up with this guy? Ermana asked. That's right. Temari confirmed. How much are you betting? Just 50 Ryu. Ermana nodded. Put me down for 25 days. Checkmate. She said happily. Her opponent looked at her. I do not believe this. He said. I've beaten you 3 games in a row. Have you had enough? Temari asked. Asuma slowly nodded. Am I really this bad at shogi? Everyone who lives in this house beats me. Well, I guess you could try Yoshino, she doesn't really play much. 20 minutes later. Checkmate. Yoshino said. Asuma buried his head in his hands and began to cry. Temari went over to him and confidently put a hand down on his shoulder. He did not disappear in a puff of smoke. Ha! I did it. I finally got it on one try. Shikaku nodded and happily and dispelled all the bushins. Congratulations, Temari, you have greatly refined your chakra sensing skills and have finally mastered this training game. She smiled so wide she closed her eyes. She was very happy to finally be done playing that stupid game. Thanks, Dad. Shikaku nodded happily. Now we can start level 2 training games. Her smile slipped. Level 2. That's right. How many levels are there? 6. Her face fell. Don't be depressed, daughter, you really are doing great. In another 3 or 4 years you will be as good as stealth as Shikamaru without shadow jutsus. She tried to smile even though she didn't feel like it. How long until as good as you? He smiled at her but didn't answer, no reason to really depress her. Hey guys, meet my new boyfriend, Kaden. Ino said. Pleased to meet you. Shikamaru said. You're one lucky guy. Temari said. Come on, you can talk me clothes shopping. As soon as they were out of hearing, Temari turned to him anxiously. Well, he calmly pulled out a notebook. Flipping through it, he found what he wanted. Ah, Kakashi won the pool this month. Damn, well, come on, let's call everyone so we can set up a new one. Temari said. They were slow dancing at the Twilight Club. He whispered in her ear. Happy year and a half anniversary. She smiled. Happy anniversary. Ino poured healing chakra into her as Asuma, Choji, and Shikamaru all watched. Ino is she. Shikamaru couldn't get the words out as they stuck in his throat. Ino turned her face up. It was streaked in mud and she was tired, but she had a small grin. She's going to be just fine. None of her vital points were hit. Temari grinned even though she felt as though she'd been run over. Hey lazy, you should know how tough I am by now. He knelt down beside her and took her hand in his. No more coming with us on missions. It's just too dangerous. Oh, are you retiring then? She kept going. We're shinobi. We know the chances we take. Damn it, Temari, you almost died. That still leaves me two behind you then in near-death experiences. Temari, if I ever lost you, I would lose everything. I know, she said quietly. I felt the exact same way when you almost died in Suna. I wanted to never see you again because I couldn't bear the thought of losing you. Remember what you said to me? You said that nothing for us was ever guaranteed, that we never knew how much time we had. You only knew that you wanted to spend that time with me. I know exactly what you feel right now because that's what I felt that night in the hospital. Don't feel guilty. This wasn't your fault. I'm ninja. This is the price I pay for walking that path. Walk it with me, Shikamaru, for however long we both can. She smiled and with her other hand she reached up and wiped the tears from his cheeks. I love you so much, Temari. And I love you, Shikamaru. Having done what she could, Ino sat nearby but tried to give them some privacy. Shikamaru was kneeling next to her. He held her hand with one and with the other hand he gently touched her face. He was talking to her. She had no idea what was being said, but she was sure the words were tender and comforting. They loved each other so much. It was so obvious whenever they were together, but especially now. And seeing the two of them, she felt herself drowning in misery. She didn't understand why, but looking at them only drove home how alone and miserable she felt. Why doesn't anyone love me? Choji came over and sat next to her. Ino, what's wrong? Temari's going to be all right, isn't she? Ino nodded. She sure is. Why did her voice sound scratchy? Why was she embarrassing herself? Then why are you crying? He said gently. Choji was always gentle. No reason, just hormones I guess, maybe stress. She turned to him. Choji, would you hold me? What? He asked nervously. Please just hold me for a little while, Choji. All right. He carefully put his arms around her. She shut her eyes and pressed herself against his warm body. The feel of his arms around her seemed to make everything better. As long as he held her, everything was all right. Because when he was with her, she never felt unloved. She took a long shuddering breath and thought she would be all right as long as she could stay like this. Choji, can we stay like this for a while? She felt him hold her just a little tighter. Sure, Ino, for as long as you want. Promise, Choji-kun. Yes, Ino-chan, I promise. Asuma stood back. He wondered why it was that two people could admit the truth to one another and two couldn't. I don't know about this. Hinata said. This isn't what I usually wear. Don't you want to get Naruto's attention when he comes back? Temari asked. But Naruto-kun's my boyfriend. I already have his attention. She said defensively. Sure, Hinata, Ino said. He notices you as a cute little girl. Wouldn't you like him to see you as a sexy woman? Sexy? Hinata said nervously. Hinata, men are simple-minded creatures. Temari explained. Hey, Shikamaru objected. They never figure anything out unless you hit them over the head with it. Temari concluded. Right. Hinata, you're turning into a beautiful woman, but Naruto will never notice if you don't show him. Ino said. But Naruto-kun won't even be back in the village for months. Why do I need to wear these now? To get used to them, of course. Ino said. If you start wearing them now, then by the time he comes back it'll be the norm. I don't know. Hinata looked at herself in the full-length mirror. She was wearing navy blue shorts that came halfway down her thigh, as well as a white button-down short-sleeve shirt that was 2 sizes too small. She had just gone through a recent growth spurt. The too tight shirt showed off the results of that. She didn't think she looked bad, but she looked different. Would Naruto-kun really like this? Shikamaru, what do you think? Temari asked. I'm not sure. He grinned at her. Any chance you could model it for me? I'll take them, Hinata said. So are you both still virgins? She asked blandly. Instantly they were spitting up tea and trying not to choke. Yoshino sent her husband a tiny grin. This was going to be fun. What? Temari managed to gasp out. Well dear, I just presumed the reason the two of you came home so late was because you were having in that hotel suite you booked last month. Temari could feel her face turning red and she could only stare back at the woman. Meanwhile, inner Temari was in a fetal position, rocking back and forth crying, "Go to my happy place. Go to my happy place. Go to my happy place." Yoshino reached out and gently put her hand on Temari's. It's all right dear, I'm not upset. I never expected you to be able to hold out until your wedding night. I'm glad you waited as long as you did. Why, I can still remember the night Shikaku gave me his Nara heart and told me he loved only me. We couldn't get back to my apartment fast enough. Mom, I'm begging you to stop. You are killing the last remnants of my childhood innocence. Shikamaru cried out. Ignoring her son's outburst, she focused again on Temari. So tell me dear, is my son a tender and considerate lover like his father? Temari could feel her jaw trying to drop to the floor. Inner Temari cried out, no, and ran away. Shikamaru jumped to his feet and ran for the back door. Excuse me, I'm going to see if the Hokage has any suicide missions available. I'll come with you. Temari ran after him as fast as her legs could get her there. When they were both gone, Shikaku turned to his wife. You're terrible. She shrugged. I'm a mother, it's what mothers do. Now finish your breakfast dear or it'll get cold. He shut the door to the suite and wasted no time in putting his hands all over her. After that mind-numbingly horrible breakfast, they had both agreed they would not even try and pretend they were not having. They would, however, not do anything at home. Have I told you what a great idea it was to rent this place? He said. Having a rich girlfriend has its advantages, huh? Her kimono was already on the floor, as were his Jonin vest and jacket. Definitely. He was half leading and half pushing her to the bedroom. One thing though. Yeah, if another deer shows up here to spy on us, I'm leaving you. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, Tsunade said, trying to pretend the revelation had never occurred to her. You three will be a team once again. Unfortunately, I don't know just what you are capable of. Naruto and Sakura, you have just completed long apprenticeships under myself and Jiraiya. Neither of you has been on a real mission since you were both genin. Sasuke, your taijutsu and physical endurance have markedly improved, though you are not the equal of Lee in that department. Having had your chakra sealed for so long, though, it will take you some time to fully regain your ninjutsu abilities. How long? Sasuke asked worriedly. No more than 1 or 2 weeks. Jiraiya assured, but then frowned. But then there's the Sharingan. What about the Sharingan? Sasuke didn't like where this conversation seemed to be heading. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade. Mind if I do an experiment? Are you sure it's safe? Tsunade cautioned. Of course, he won't be in danger of anything more severe than a headache. Tsunade slowly nodded. All right then. Sasuke, try and activate your Sharingan. Jiraiya said. Sasuke shut his eyes and channeled a bit of chakra to his eyes. To his surprise, he didn't feel the old familiar warmth flood into his eyes. Instead, it felt as though his chakra flow were stopped in the middle of his brain behind his eyes. Grunting, he channeled more chakra and tried to force it forward past the blockage. As he did so, he could feel pressure continue to build. What was wrong? He pushed more chakra and tried again to activate his bloodline. The pressure in his head built and began to throb, but he could feel the blockage start to give way. Sasuke, stop. Tsunade shouted. He opened his eyes feeling annoyed. Why I can. As he spoke he tasted blood. Putting his hand over his mouth he felt blood flowing out of his nose. Release your chakra and sit down, Sasuke-kun. Sakura was at his side and so was Naruto. I'm fine. He released the chakra but the feeling of a throbbing pressure in his head didn't go away. With his hand he covered his nose to slow the blood flow. What is wrong with me? Though he didn't like it he let Sakura and the Dobi put him in a chair. Sakura swiftly and gently touched his face as she worked a medical jutsu. Tsunade sent Jiraiya an annoyed look. Just a headache, huh? Jiraiya sent her back a disgruntled look of his own. When I was here last time you asked me to do something that had never been done before. Create a seal that could suppress the Sharingan. No one had ever even thought how that might be done. I had to invent something completely new. And by the way, at the time you didn't mention anything about being able to remove it, you wanted just the opposite in fact. I was able to remove it along with the rest of the seal, but even I can't know what the complications might be. Having finished healing him his nose had stopped bleeding but his head still throbbed. As he took a piece of cloth to clean up he gave her a polite nod. Thank you Sakura. She smiled gently. You're welcome Sasuke-kun. Sasuke shifted his focus from her to Jiraiya. What are you saying that you've ruined the Sharingan? He was trying to keep panic from his voice, but the feeling was rising in him. I didn't say that, Jiraiya said. Then when will I be able to activate it again? I'm sorry Sasuke but I just don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Jiraiya admitted. Wait. I've already waited almost 2 years and a half. How much longer do you expect me to wait? Sasuke growled feeling his temper beginning to rise. You'll wait however long it takes Genin. Tsunade said sharply. You seem to have suddenly forgotten you're here to obey your superiors not give them orders. Sasuke looked down on the floor. He couldn't let the frustration consume him. I apologize Hokage-sama. Believe me when I say we want to help you get to full strength as soon as possible. But whether you like it or not it may take some time. Tsunade shook her head. I had been planning to give the 3 of you a special test against Kakashi tonight, but I think that will have to wait. The 3 of you are dismissed for the rest of the day. I want you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. to meet your client for your first mission. We've got a mission tomorrow. Naruto sang out. Don't get too excited, it's only a 2-day C rank. I'm assigning it to you because the client asked for you specifically. C rank. Bachan, there is no way I am wasting my time and talent with a C rank. I want a HMPH. Naruto was cut off by Sakura slapping a hand over his mouth. Please ignore him Lady Tsunade. I am sure he's lightheaded from hunger and the excitement of being back home. Shut up Naruto. You have no idea how scary she can be when she gets angry. Tsunade frowned but nodded. Fine then, you are dismissed until 7 tomorrow morning. Not letting go of her hold on him she dragged Naruto out. Sasuke got up, put his hands in his pockets and slouched away. Kakashi, please stay a moment. There is something Jiraiya wants to share with you. Oh, Kakashi eyed the toad sage. Jiraiya nodded seriously. That's right, it's about Naruto. Temari was sitting at the kitchen table humming a happy tune as she folded the invitations and slid them into small envelopes. Shikamaru came in through the back door and quickly sat down next to her. He eyed his cheerful blonde girlfriend cautiously. Why are you in such a good mood doing such a mind-numbing task? She leaned over to give him a quick kiss as he sat down. 2 reasons. The main one is that I'm excited that in a few more days I can finally tell everyone I'm getting married. After Gaara announces our engagement I can put these in the mail and start really planning our wedding. As it is a little more than 3 months isn't much time to get everything organized. I'm sure you and my mom will have everything exactly as you want it in no time. Oh, I'm sure we will, but it won't be easy. So what's the other reason you're in such a good mood? Shikamaru asked. She gave him a sweet smile as she handed him a stack of invitations and envelopes. The other reason is that I have you here to help me, of course. Of course. He began folding and stuffing. Oh, I can't wait. It has been so long since I had Ichiraku ramen. Naruto said happily. He looked at his two teammates. Hey, let's all eat together. It'll be like the good old days. Are you treating? Sakura asked. Anxiously he pulled out Gama-chan. His poor wallet had been in better health. I can't really afford it right now. In that case I'm not getting ramen. Ah, come on, Sakura-chan. Nope. She began to walk off. I'll eat with you, Dobi. Sakura froze and looked back over her shoulder. She'd invited Sasuke out to eat or get tea or just hang out 100 times. Always the answer was the same, bored and apathetic no. Now Naruto just asks, and doesn't even offer to pay, and Sasuke actually agrees. Don't tell me he actually prefers Naruto's company to mine. Naruto had a huge smile on his face. You mean it, Tem? Sasuke shrugged. I haven't had ramen in a while and I guess I can put up with you for an hour. Ha. Well, come on, let's go. We'll see you tomorrow, Sakura-chan. The two of them walked past her as she stood there in the middle of the street. She stood there mute, watching them go as pride fought with her desire to be near him. Wait. The two boys came to a halt and turned around. What is it, Sakura-chan? Naruto asked as she ran to catch up to them. I've changed my mind. I'm suddenly in the mood for ramen. Pride never stood a chance. Really? That's great, Naruto said. Sasuke gave her a knowing smirk. What a surprise. May I join you, Gaara-sensei? Gaara nodded and she carefully sat down on the branch next to him. You should get some rest. Tomorrow will be another long day of travel. Thank you for your concern for me, but I'm fine. Matsuri said. It doesn't seem right for the cage to stand guard alone all night. Gaara had a slight smile. He was not, and probably never would be, what anyone would call emotionally open. But after spending time with Naruto, he had become just a bit more willing to smile a little. He even laughed once in a blue moon. As I do not sleep, there is no reason for anyone else to perform this duty. I just wanted to thank you again for all the kindness you have shown me. I know how hard it is for you to find time to train me, and I know I am only here because you want me to see the Leaf Village. You are truly most kind. She put her hand down and touched his. He carefully pulled his hand away. You are very welcome, Matsuri. Do not underestimate what a fine ninja you have become. You would not be here now if you were not. He looked at her and she could see kindness there in his eyes. People all thought he was cold by nature. But she had seen glimpses of his warmth. 829. Matsuri carefully approached the newly appointed cage. Despite the bitter cold, the festival grounds were filled with revelers and dancers. Coronations were rare events and people felt almost an obligation to celebrate. Looking at the dancers, she could see Jiraiya dancing with a rather buxom blonde woman. Being both Sannin and the cage's personal guest, he had a long line of women eager to dance with him, and the fellow didn't mind sharing himself. In some ways she suspected he was even worse than Kankuro. She spotted Naruto dancing with Temari again. Now Naruto was a sweet boy, loud and boisterous but with a good heart. He and Gaara had become quite close and was the only person she had ever heard him call friend. Some of his habits were also very endearing. He had told everyone he was in love with a leaf kunoichi named Hinata. At the dance he'd asked Temari if it would be all right for him to dance with other girls. Temari had told him it was, but only with her and a few others that she trusted not to try and take advantage of the poor boy. Matsuri had been one of those trusted few and had enjoyed dancing with such a sweet and faithful boy. When she stood before Gaara, she bowed to him. May I offer my congratulations, Kage-sama? He nodded in acknowledgement and gave her a tiny grin. Please do not call me that, Matsuri. I would like you to continue to call me sensei. As you wish, Gaara-sensei. I've noticed you haven't danced at all tonight. I have been asked, but I have declined all the requests. Can I ask why? The grin slipped away. Because everyone who has asked me has been afraid of me. I see. She paused. Should I? Gaara-sensei, I realize I am only a commoner, but I am not afraid of you. And I would really like a dance. He looked at her for a moment, considering. finally spoke in a low voice just for her. If I were to dance with you, only Matsuri people would begin to say that we are lovers. Hearing that from him, her heartbeat picked up and she blushed. Do you still wish to dance? She knew the correct answer would be no. Apprentice or not, a common girl like her had no business being associated with the cage in that way. Even if it was just rumor. Her head told her to say no, but her heart gave her a different answer. Yes. Very well. He had reached out and calmly taken her hand into his and led them out onto the dance floor. The moment they began to move together, the whispers started. They shared 3 dances, none of them slow ones. Gaara was graceful on the dance floor and had been utterly proper. They did nothing that even hinted at impropriety. But the next day everyone was talking about her as being his lover. It made her ears burn, but she was still glad to have danced with him. At all the festivals she was the only one. He danced with her and her alone. She loved those moments. She loved them because for just those short times she could touch him. His hand would enclose hers and they seemed to share something. Whatever people thought, she and Gaara were nothing more than sensei and student. They had never kissed, and away from the dance floor they rarely even touched. The fact that they were not more was his choice, not hers. She loved him. I am not tired at all. May I stay up with you for a while? He smiled and nodded. And so she sat on the branch with him, her hands near but not touching his. She had never told him what she felt for him. Gaara had trouble with emotions and she would not trouble him with what she felt. She supposed she was a very foolish girl. Being in love with a man who was so completely out of her class and who didn't know how to express whatever he did feel. Looking at him, she sighed. It was foolish, but she was still happy to just be near him. Hey old man, can we get some ramen for the brand new and amazing Team Kakashi? Sasuke smirked at his antics while Sakura shook her head, feeling embarrassed. Tsuki looked up from his stove. He took a moment. Naruto. Hey Naruto, you've finally come back. Smiling happily, he scratched the back of his head. Yeah, I'm back. And you are with your friends, I see. The old cook said happily. All of you sit down and order whatever you like. In honor of Naruto's return, your meal is on me. No, a voice said from just outside the restaurant. It is on me tonight. The man entered past the red curtain. Iruka-sensei. I'm really happy to see you. The scarred ninja smiled. I am very happy to see you as well, Naruto, and want to hear all about your journey. That might take a while. There's a lot to tell. Naruto said happily. They all sat down. Naruto had Iruka to one side and Sasuke on the other. Sakura was sitting next to Sasuke. Tsuki promised a bowl of extra special ramen just for him. He had set it and the rest of the orders down, and Naruto was about to dig in when a pair of arms wrapped themselves around his neck. Gah! He nearly jumped up, knocking over his bowl. He heard a very feminine giggle from behind him. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, but may I join you? Twisting around on the stool, he saw it was Hinata. Of course. How did you know where to find me, Hinata-chan? Without a word, Iruka moved over to the next stool to allow Hinata to sit next to him. Sitting down, she smiled serenely at her boyfriend. Naruto-kun, it wasn't hard to figure out where you'd want to eat your first night back. Hey old man, can we get some more ramen for the most beautiful kunoichi in the village? Sakura watched the way Hinata was looking at him and the way he was looking at her. It's so obvious they love each other and are happy together. She looked at the boy sitting next to her. As usual, he was ignoring her. Why can't we be like that? So Dobi, you going to tell us about your trip or what? Yes, Naruto-kun. I read all your letters and postcards, but I want to hear the details. Hinata said. Well, the best part of the whole trip was the 2 months I got to stay at Gaara's mansion. It was great. He hired this chef who specialized in making ramen. I got to eat it whenever I wanted. Then there was. Iruka smiled fondly at his former student. Trust Naruto to begin his story with food. Naruto ate and spoke with his usual enthusiasm. Some of the events he related were quite outrageous, especially the ones centered on Jiraiya's research. They all stayed there for over 2 hours listening. Even Sasuke stayed, though he managed to make a few comments questioning some of the events. Finally, when the meal was over, they all went their separate ways. Naruto walked Hinata home. They both had missions tomorrow, but they were sure they would have more time together soon. With a quick good-night kiss, he watched the girl he loved hurry into the Hyuga complex. Smiling and feeling like he was walking on air, Naruto headed home. He had spent a lot of nights imagining what his first day back home would be like. Amazingly, the reality had turned out better than any dream. Is it really that serious? Kakashi looked at the suppression seal Jiraiya had given him. It is. Jiraiya confirmed. Naruto has grown much more powerful, but I'm afraid his control over the fox's chakra weakens whenever he becomes too emotional. If the worst comes to worst, you can use that seal to suppress his red chakra. But remember this. Jiraiya frowned and tried to drive home the seriousness of what he was about to say. Whatever happens, you must prevent him from reaching the four-tail state. At that point, I am afraid he will begin to lose his personality and may be overwhelmed by the Kyubis. What should I do if he does reach that state? Run. Jiraiya answered simply. At that point, he'll be too powerful for you to have any effect on, and he'll no longer be the Naruto we know. Frowning, he put the seal away. Do you have any idea why Akatsuki has been so active lately? They've been keeping a low profile for a long time now. What has changed? I have no idea. Now that I've returned Naruto to your care, I'll be leaving again to see what I can find out. One thing is certain though. They still want what Naruto has inside of him. No matter where he is, Akatsuki will remain a danger to him. I know. Kakashi said sadly. I'll watch out for him, and I'm sure Naruto is much stronger than he used to be. He is, but whether or not he is a match for the likes of Uchiha Itachi is another matter. Kakashi shook his head and wondered what the future held in store. The next morning, Team Kakashi was waiting outside the Hokage's office. There is something I need to tell of you. Kakashi said. What is it, sensei? Sakura asked. He looked them all over carefully. Though I am your leader again, you are no longer my students. From now on, we are all equals. We are all shinobi of the leaf. The three younger ninjas took his words to heart and seemed to stand just a bit taller. It was a somber and important moment for all of them. Oh hey, I just remembered, I brought you a present, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto began digging through a pouch. Naruto, I appreciate it, but we're about to meet with the Hokage, now is not the time for. Kakashi gasped as Naruto held out his gift. It was an orange-covered book with Ika Ika Tactics on the cover. Is that, he reached for it as if afraid it might disappear at his touch. But when he took hold of it, it was real enough. The first new novel in over 3 years. This copy is autographed, by the way. It's still unpublished, so I know you'll appreciate getting it. Actually, I think this might be Ero Sennin's best work yet. Especially when Teiko visits the girls' dormitory and Naruto. Kakashi said sharply. Don't spoil it for me. Oops, sorry. You've read that. Sakura said, her voice dripping venom. Naruto smiled unashamedly. I sure did, in all the other books in the series too. Sakura began to crack her knuckles. Great, he's come back even more of a pervert than when he left. Opening the cover, Kakashi let out a sigh of sheer bliss. Naruto, have I ever told you you're my favorite? Sakura and Sasuke both sweat dropped. The door to the Hokage's office opened and she stepped out. All right, it's time to meet your client and, Kakashi, what is that? The book quickly disappeared. Oh, nothing, Hokage-sama. Tsunade frowned at him. I had better not find out you are corrupting these poor children. Please believe me, Hokage-sama, that there is no way I could ever do that. Kakashi said. Especially not to Naruto. Sasuke put in. With a sharp look, Tsunade turned back to her office. All right, well, come in. They all followed her into the office. There they spotted Temari and Shikamaru. Hey, Naruto greeted. Are you two getting a mission today too? Temari smiled. Well, lazy here is, but not me. I'm your client. Tsunade nodded. Ambassador Temari is going to meet her brother and accompany him on the last leg of his journey. She requested Shikamaru and your team to accompany her. Actually, I just thought Gaara would like seeing you again, Naruto. Cool. I get to see Gaara and see how he has been. Tsunade nodded. This should be a nice simple mission to help all of you get used to working together again. All you have to do is meet Gaara's party and then just escort them the rest of the way here. Nothing could be easier. Late in the day, Gaara again checked his radio communicator. The range was only 5 miles, but once she was close, he would tell her exactly where he was. He looked over to the person who was leaping beside him. It will be good to see Temari again. Kankuro nodded. What do you want to bet she brings the lazy one with her? You don't like Shikamaru? Kankuro shrugged. He's alright as long as he makes her happy, I suppose. I just don't think he's good enough for her, that's all. I think they are a very good match. Gaara said simply. Kankuro smiled. Like you and Matsuri. Gaara sighed. She and I are not lovers, she is my student, nothing more. Sure. Gaara did not bother saying anything further. Like most of Suna, Kankuro was convinced that he and Matsuri were more than they were. He took a quick look back where she and Captain Yura were following. He was quite fond of her, and when she was close he felt something. But even if he were interested in something more, it would not be proper for him to act on it while he was her sensei. I'm looking forward to seeing her. It's kind of boring just the 4 of us. You should have brought more people. You're the case cage, you rate a big entourage. I prefer to keep things simple whenever possible. And given my own abilities, I do not need a large escort. Yeah, I don't think anyone would be stupid enough to attack you. As they entered a large open clearing, he saw 2 figures seemingly waiting for them. What the hell? Gaara raised a closed fist and the 4 of them came to a halt in the open field. Gaara eyed the 2 figures standing about 100 feet away. They both wore pointed straw hats and large billowing robes that were black with red clouds. I recognize your dress from reports I have read. You are both Akatsuki, are you not? Upon hearing that, Kankuro immediately pulled out his scrolls. Matsuri took out a pair of bullets and began spinning them. Captain Yura took out a single kunai. Oh yeah, we sure are. One of them answered. He pulled off his hat to reveal a mane of long blonde hair. You are Sabaku no Gaara, the case cage and possessor of the Shukaku one-tailed demon. The other one spoke. He was much blockier but shorter than the first. His voice was low and harsh. To retrieve the Shukaku is the highest command given unto us by the Akatsuki. Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind just coming with us, we wouldn't have to hurt anyone else. The blonde one said. Uncorking his gourd, the sand flowed out and around him. I cannot do that. Gaara replied calmly. Yeah, I didn't think you would, but I just thought I'd ask. He stuck both hands into a pair of pouches. Let's get on with this. His partner said. I hate waiting. This is so great. Naruto said yet again as they were flying through the woods. Naruto, enough already. Sakura spoke out in annoyance. You're excited to be going on a mission again. We get it. You don't have to keep telling us. Ah, come on, Sakura-chan. Naruto pouted. It's been so long since we were all together. I'm just happy about it. So am I. But you don't hear me telling you about it every 5 minutes. Right, Sasuke? Let Naruto be excited, it has been a while. Sakura gawked at him, not believing it. Sasuke maintained his dispassionate appearance, but the truth was he was happier than he had been in a long while. In the past 2 years, neither he nor Sakura had gone out on any missions. For Sakura, it had been a matter of choice. First her KMC training and then her apprenticeship under Tsunade had kept her in the village. Sasuke had remained in Konoha as well, but not by choice. When Team Guy was home, he had trained with him and with Lee. Sakura would often show up to watch and see him sweat and struggle to keep up the pace those 2 maniacs set. After more than 2 years of weight training, endurance running, and murderous sparring matches, his taijutsu was infinitely better than it had been. But using taijutsu alone, he was still no match for Lee, never mind Guy. Though Sakura knew of course that he was not shinobi, the harsh reality tended to become obscured in her mind as she saw him train like one day in and day out. Seeing him so regularly, she had let herself forget that unlike her, Sasuke was a prisoner on a tenuous probation. Though he refused to show it, Sasuke was very happy to be a ninja going on a mission again. He was even sort of happy to be listening to Naruto's ridiculous banter. When Sakura looked away, he let a small smile appear. After so long without his freedom, he was going to let himself enjoy it. At least for now. Deidara pulled his hands out of his pouches. From the mouths within his palms, chewed up clay was exuded. In each palm the clay was transformed into 3 falcons. Yeah, I'm an artist. Let me show you that art is a bang. Tossing the 6 miniature falcons into the air, they expanded into life size and flew quickly and directly at Gaara. Gaara stood calmly where he was. Just as the falcons arrived, the sand rose up to surround him. Deidara made a hand gesture in front of his face. Bang! All 6 falcons exploded. For a moment the place Gaara had stood was consumed in fire and smoke. Gaara-sensei! Matsuri shouted. Relax, Matsuri. You should know by now that something so simple wouldn't touch Gaara. Kankuro said smugly. He had already summoned his 3 puppets. The smoke cleared to reveal Gaara standing in the exact same spot surrounded by sand. Such an attack is useless against me. He spoke blandly. Deidara thought, so that is Gaara's ultimate defense. Definitely interesting. He seems to have taken the force of the blow with no problem. Wonder just how much force that sand can absorb. His partner had also carefully observed what had happened. You seem well prepared to fend off a direct assault. Let us try something else then, shall we? Without warning, Captain Yura grabbed Matsuri from behind and placed a kunai to her throat. Captain! Matsuri shouted. What the hell are you doing? Kankuro yelled. I am very sorry, but I am in the service of my master Sasori. Sasori of the Red Sands? Kankuro said in disbelief. Low laughter rumbled from the blocky Akatsuki. I am honored to still be remembered. We know the girl is precious to you. If you surrender to us, she will not be harmed. Gaara slowly turned from his opponents to Matsuri and Yura. As he did so, he casually formed a few hand signs. You are a traitor, Captain Yura. He said calmly. Seeing his back turned, Deidara smiled. He made several more falcons. These he made with his more powerful C2 explosive clay. Yeah, now while his back is turned, he let them fly at top speed. As before, when they neared their target, the sand formed a protective sphere around Gaara. An even bigger explosion rocked the clearing. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction, Gaara had sand rise up from beneath Yura's feet. The sand took hold of both his arms and chest. Matsuri leapt away. Sand coffin. Gaara had the sand cover Yura completely. Traitor. The word was a death sentence. Exploding sand funeral. With a loud burst, Yura's life ended in a geyser of blood. Interesting, Deidara thought. The sand acted independently to protect him even though he couldn't see what was coming. And again it looks like he did so at no cost to himself. Further speculation was cut off as Deidara was forced to leap back to avoid a rain of kunai. All right, you bastard. You can deal with me now. Kankuro sent Karasu indirectly to attack while Kurori went circling around. Deidara, get into the air, I will deal with this. Sasori said. Very well, Master Sasori. With his clay he created an owl and expanded it to the size of a steed. Jumping on it took a few flaps of its wings and was soon airborne. Where do you think you're going? Kankuro said as he had Karasu into the air. But the puppet was immediately swatted away by a huge metal tail from Sasori's body. My partner is no longer your concern. I am your opponent. As Kankuro pulled Karasu back, Deidara circled up above. Kankuro, I will deal with the other one. Matsuri, cover Kankuro. Both of you be careful. Riding a cloud of sand he rose into the air. Deidara was immediately impressed by Gaara's speed. Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be interesting. Let's crank things up a notch. I'll use C3 from multiple angles. Shoving both hands back into pouches he got busy. Meanwhile Kankuro was quickly running into trouble. All Karasu's attacks were easily blocked by the surprisingly fast metal tail. Sasori rumbled laughter. I would enjoy playing with you a while longer, Puppet Master, but you are not my concern. And so, as Karasu went in for another attack, the metal tail tore the puppet in half. Even as that happened, Karasu charged from behind only to have the tail swing back and reduce a second puppet to kindling. Kankuro stood behind Sanshou, his last puppet. This has been fun. Run away and you can tell everyone you survived a fight against Sasori of the Red Sands. As the metal swung about over Sasori's head, two bolos struck near the middle and wrapped themselves around it. Sasori swung his head over to where Matsuri stood. So the girl wants to fight now. A word of advice, girl. If you want to fight, at least bring a real weapon and not some rocks connected with wire. In response, Matsuri merely smiled and brought a hand up before her face in the same gesture Deidara had used. Kai. The bolos exploded and tore the metal tail in half. A large hunk fell to the ground useless. The blunted remainder was pulled back. Hey, that was not a bad trick, girl. Sasori launched himself in her direction. She leapt away, and as she did so, another metal tail lashed out at her. Fortunately, I keep a spare. The tail struck her in the side, cutting into her ribs and sending her flying back to the ground. She struck awkwardly and bounced several times before coming to halt. She did not move. Kankuro got to her side quickly. Checking her pulse, she was alive but unconscious. He didn't know how badly hurt she was. You bastard. Though Sanshou was a defensive puppet, he was all that Kankuro had left. He launched Sanshou at Sasori. The tail shot out and struck the puppet's one hidden weak point, breaking it into pieces. How did he know all the weak points on my puppets? You should have run. Sasori launched himself at Kankuro and the unconscious Matsuri. The last of Deidara's clay hawks exploded and were gone. Despite his best efforts, he had yet to even scratch his opponent. Now he was on the defensive as Gaara pursued him and sent arms of sand out to try and catch him. Deidara had already had a couple of close calls and only just evaded Gaara's reach. Gaara was faster, Deidara was more maneuverable and more experienced in flight. Still, it was becoming clear to him that at this rate he would be caught sooner or later. Glancing down below, he smiled. Looks like your friends aren't doing so well. Gaara took a quick look down. With Matsuri secure in his arms, Kankuro leapt back. Sasori's metal tail lashed out, but was blocked by a wall of sand. Gaara. Kankuro called out. I'm afraid she's hurt. Is it serious? In his voice was a rare bit of emotion. I don't know. Kankuro answered. Hey, you needn't worry about the girl. Even if she is alive, all my weapons are coated with a special poison. She'll be dead within 3 days. Gaara sent the man a look that Kankuro recognized. His hands tightened into fists, and the sand began to jump about in agitation. Kankuro, take Matsuri and get out of here. Find Temari and all of you get back to Konoha as fast as you can. Gaara, I won't abandon you. You don't have any puppets, you can't fight anymore. You and Matsuri escape, that is an order from your cage. But, Gaara glared at him and he shut his mouth. I said go. Yes, Gaara. Kankuro leapt away with Matsuri. He had seen that look in Gaara's eyes many times before. As he fled the battle area, he honestly wasn't sure if he was more afraid for Gaara or the two Akatsuki. I want blood. A voice howled in his head. So do I, Gaara thought. With Kankuro and Matsuri safely out of the way, he would not hold back. The voice began to laugh and scenes of past slaughter flashed into his mind. You say you want the Shukaku. Gaara sent Sasori a huge and happy smile. Sasori was actually a bit impressed by the immensity of the killer intent facing him. Then I'll give you what you want. Temari's radio communicator began to beep. Well, it's about time. She switched it to receive. This is Temari. Oh hey Kankuro, how? Her facial expression froze. What? She shouted, immediately getting everyone's attention. She listened for a few more minutes and the color seemed to drain out of her. All right, where are you now? She listened for a moment. All right, keep coming and we should meet in just a couple of minutes. Don't worry, we have a medic nin with us. Temari out. What happened? Naruto asked before anyone else could. My brother's party was attacked by two Akatsuki. What? Naruto shouted. We've got to go help. We've got to. Naruto. Kakashi's voice overrode his. This situation is serious, we're going to come up with a plan of action, not just rush in blind. But we have to help Gaara, Naruto demanded. And we will, Kakashi assured him. Our mission is to bring Gaara and his party safely to Konoha. I intend to do just that. But if the Akatsuki are involved, this mission just got upgraded to at least an A- rank, possibly higher. If we just go in blind, it'll be a disaster. Naruto could be heard growling, but he didn't argue any further. Is she going to be all right? Temari asked. I don't know. Sakura answered as she continued to work on an unconscious Matsuri. What do you mean you don't know? Kankuro snapped. What kind of medic nin are you? Don't yell at Sakura-chan. Naruto said loudly. Sakura-chan's the best. She lifted her head a bit to send Naruto an appreciative grin. Actually, Sakura is Lady Tsunade's personal apprentice and is second only to the Hokage herself in healing ability. Kakashi said pleasantly. While Sakura had worked, Kankuro had given them a quick rundown on the situation. Both he and Shikamaru were considering their options. Being senior, he was the one in charge, but he had no trouble taking advantage of Shikamaru's sharp mind. Sorry. Kankuro mumbled a rare apology. It's all right, Sakura said. I understand that you're worried about her. I'm afraid that she's suffered serious a concussion. She has also been poisoned by a toxin I have never seen before. I have done everything that I can to stabilize her condition, but she needs to get to a hospital as fast as possible. Can you do anything more for her? Kakashi asked. Sakura shook her head. Not without hospital equipment and supplies. Shikamaru turned to Kakashi. The situation is troublesome. Kakashi sent the younger Jonin a careful look. Care to elaborate? Gaara is facing two opponents whose strength we cannot know. However, given Gaara's standing as an S-rank ninja and their obvious confidence that they can defeat him, we must act on the assumption that they are both S-rank as well. Kakashi frowned but nodded. That does seem the way to bet. Do you have any recommendations? Shikamaru turned to Naruto. Naruto, can you make a dozen shadow clones? No problem. He ran through the familiar hand signs and a dozen Narutos came into existence. Shikamaru turned back to Kakashi. I recommend we take advantage of Naruto's talent to help both scout and evacuate. Have two of his clones help get Matsuri and Kankuro to Konoha as fast as possible while the others head towards Gaara. They can scout out the situation and offer aid. Meanwhile, the rest of us can continue and use Naruto's information to best advantage. Kakashi nodded and turned to his student. All right, Naruto, you heard him. Go and help Gaara, and if it's at all possible, get him out of there and bring him towards us. Right. 10 clones got moving at high speed to the west. One picked Matsuri up gently and headed in the opposite direction. But when the last one tried to help Kankuro, he was held at arm's length. Hey, I'm not going to Konoha, I'm coming with you and helping to fight. Kankuro, his sister, stepped up beside him and smiled at him sweetly. Without your puppets, you'd be a liability in a fight. It would be best if you went to Konoha to look after Matsuri. Kankuro frowned and shook his head. I don't run from fights. Kankuro, what I think you fail to realize is, in mid-sentence she punched the base of his skull hard. Turned off like a light, he began to drop but was caught by his big sister. Here you go. She handed him over to Naruto's clone. Was that necessary? Shikamaru asked. No, but it was quick. All right, the rest of you come on. We have to help Gaara. Kakashi said, and they all got moving. You Akatsuki bastards, Naruto thought, I won't let you take Gaara. Gaara gathered the sand back around him into a solid sphere. Up above it, what appeared to be a floating eye stared down at him. Sasori was smart enough to understand that this was Gaara's way of making sure he was left alone to perform a very complex jutsu. He was also smart enough to guess what the jutsu would be used for. What's going on, Master Sasori? Deidara landed a few feet away from him. It seems the Jinchuriki is about to take on its true form. Sasori replied calmly. Really? Deidara smiled and eyed the sand in anticipation. This is truly fun. How about I see just how much damage that shell can take? No. Excuse me. Sasori turned to his partner. I said no. Don't waste the chakra. That shell is obviously made to be his most powerful defense. We'll wait to attack his true form. Deidara chuckled. I thought you hated waiting. I do, don't remind me. He looked back at the shell. Get back in the air. We'll use attack plan 4. As you like, Master Sasori. Deidara got back into the air again. Sasori remained where he was and tried to be patient. Damn it. Don't keep me waiting. Let me out. The voice howled. No. Now shut up. Gaara knew his normal calm facade was missing. This was why he didn't like to transform. Whenever he did so, the wall separating him from Shukaku got weaker and his self-control became strained. But there was no helping it. If he wanted his full power, he had to do this. And after what these bastards had done to Matsuri, there was no way he was letting them get away. I hope she is all right. Who cares? The voice cried out. Just think about the blood. Think about tearing them apart. Let me do it and I promise they'll suffer before I kill them. Shut up. I will never let you take control again. The demon's voice kept howling about blood and death, but Gaara had long experience in blocking it out. He concentrated on completing the transformation. It had been 5 minutes and Sasori was losing what little patience he had. It was then that he felt a strange chakra begin to pulse from the sand shell. When he saw the shell begin to crack, he nodded. Finally, the shell exploded and a massive wave of sand began to flow out and take form. Before Sasori's eyes, a gigantic monster over 200 feet tall came to horrifying life. Planting its 4 legs made the earth shake. Rearing back, it let loose a long bestial howl. Leaping into the air, Sasori opened his mouth and fired out dozens of needles. They struck and exploded. This only succeeded in getting Shukaku's attention. You should never have come here. Shukaku brought down a single great paw. Sasori leapt away. The paw flattened several trees and made the ground shake. Though massive, Shukaku was also fast. With another paw he snatched Sasori from the air in mid-leap. With an evil laugh, Shukaku brought the now helpless Akatsuki before his golden eyes. Any final words before I crush the life from you? Sasori looked up at the monster's face. He laughed. I must admit, you are a real challenge, aren't you? Shukaku grinned and squeezed. They came to a jarring stop as they felt the earth shake and heard a monstrous roar. What was that? Kakashi asked. Among their group, 3 people knew. Temari blanched as she felt an old terror fill her heart. Oh no, he did it. Naruto and Sasuke both also knew. Did what? Shikamaru asked his suddenly pale and shaking girlfriend. He reached over and put a hand on her shoulder. Temari, what's happened? Gaara's turned into the Shukaku. Naruto said with certainty. Come on. Instead of continuing, he ran up the tree he was perched on. Once he got to the top, he had a clear view for miles. Gaara, what is that? Sakura cried out. Though they were still miles away, they could clearly see the one-tailed demon raccoon. That's Gaara, Naruto said. That is what he looks like when he takes on the Shukaku's form. That's what he looked like when we fought. Shikamaru stared at him. Naruto, you fought that and won. Shikamaru was suddenly feeling a whole new level of respect for the loudmouth blonde. He did. Sasuke confirmed. He turned to the girl next to him. That's what he saved you from, Sakura. Sakura looked over to her blonde teammate. Naruto, she whispered. Sasuke looked at him as well. All the memories of that day came rushing back to him. That sense of awe at the sheer power Naruto had within him. That gnawing jealousy and sense of self-doubt. Sasuke looked at Naruto and wondered how he could be so powerful. And he wondered if he had grown even more powerful since. While I've gotten weaker, damn it. We have to hurry, Temari said, suddenly snapping out of it. The longer he remains in that form, the more likely it is that the demon will affect his mind. Naruto, Shikamaru called as they got moving again. Your clones must be pretty close by now. What can you tell us? Naruto shook his head. Nothing yet. Once I make them, I can give them orders, but I'm not in their minds. I only learn what they do after they're destroyed. How do just 2 ninja expect to defeat something like that? They must be insane. Sakura said. That would be a dangerous assumption, Sakura. Shikamaru replied. These aren't some random bandits Gaara just happened to run into. They are members of an elite criminal organization whose members include Uchiha Itachi. Gaara was specifically targeted and attacked. I'm certain that means Akatsuki feels that these two are powerful enough to defeat him even in this form. Shukaku opened his palm to reveal only hunks of wood and metal. Where's the blood? In some bushes a young red-haired boy severed his chakra strings. What a waste. I'll have to rebuild it from scratch now. Looking up in the sky he saw his partner diving down unnoticed from Shukaku's backside. Sasori smiled. But it should be well worth it. Deidara took the clay from the mouth of both hands and molded it into the form of a squat and harmless-looking bird. With a smile he tossed the bird away and changed direction to quickly put space between him and it. As Shukaku raged about the lack of blood, the bird expanded to the size of a house and began to plummet. This will use up most of my remaining clay, but it'll make one hell of a bang. C4, my most powerful artistic tool. He watched excitedly as the giant bird dropped. That one has enough explosive force to level a whole village. Watch carefully, Master Sasori, for my art truly is a bang. A deafening explosion filled everything with fire and smoke. What was that? Sakura asked. Sasuke sent her a disappointed frown. An explosion, obviously. Must be one hell of a big one for us to hear it this far away. Shikamaru pointed out. Let's try and pick up the pace. Kakashi said. I have a bad feeling about this. Impossible. Sasori shouted. As the smoke began to clear away, he could see the imposing form of Shukaku still standing there. It seemed they had underestimated their opponent. But as the smoke continued to clear, he got a better look. In the very middle of his body was a huge gaping hole. And though Shukaku was still standing, it wasn't moving. Looking close, he could see sand beginning to spill out from the legs and head. It continued to stand for another minute before collapsing and dissolving into a massive pile of sand. Smiling, Sasori headed in. It had certainly been harder than anticipated. But they had succeeded. Deidara landed near the sand pile. Lying in the middle of it, half buried, was their target, unconscious. He turned to his partners as he arrived. Well, Master Sasori, what do you say about my art now? Do not confuse an effective weapon for real art. Art is beauty which survives through the ages. Sasori, however, did give his partner a respectful nod. But I will admit the result was impressive. Yeah, now all that's left is to bring him back to the rendezvous point. Get away from Gaara. A number of voices cried out. The two of them turned and were both forced to jump back to avoid a flurry of kunai. As they watched, a number of the same ninja came out of the woods at them. One leapt to the unconscious Gaara and quickly hauled him up onto his shoulder. Stop! Sasori shouted. Despite his greater power, he was momentarily forced to give ground as 5 clones came at him. He pulled out a scroll. Deidara was also backing up and dodging while he made some of his toys. And in that moment, when they were both caught unaware, one of the clones made off with their prize. Damn it! His favorite puppet appeared beside him, the one he'd made from the body of the third cage. He made short work of the clones attacking him, just as Deidara did with those on him. But the last one had already made it into the woods. Come on, Deidara, we're not losing our target now. Sasori got moving with his puppet. Deidara got back on his mount and into the air once again. I've got Gaara. Naruto shouted. How is he? Temari asked worriedly. He's knocked out, but he's all right. Naruto took on a worried look. They just took out all my other clones. I only have the one with Gaara left. The one who can't fly. He's a puppet master like Kankuro. That's interesting. Is your clone headed this way? Shikamaru asked. Yeah, but I'm sure those two are after him. All right, everyone, Kakashi said. Take up the battle formation Shikamaru outlined, and remember, these two just defeated the Shukaku, don't take them lightly. Temari nodded and gripped her fan tight. A kunai went through his chest and the clone disappeared with a puff of smoke. With no one holding him up, Gaara went sailing through the air and headed for a hard landing. If he dies, all this is for nothing. Sasori had his puppet fly in and catch him before his landing. Finally. Now let's. Rasengan. Out of the woods, another dozen versions of the same ninja. One of them had a ball of chakra in his open hand. As Sasori looked on, he struck his puppet with it and his favorite was ripped apart. Sasori was stunned, not only because Gaara was once again being taken away a clone but because the flesh that had allowed his puppet to wield chakra had just been ruined. His favorite puppet was permanently lost now. I'll give you one warning, we have you seriously outnumbered and we are ready to act with deadly force. If you surrender, I will guarantee your life will be spared. Sasori calmly looked up into the tree branches at the silver-haired ninja that had spoken. You are Kakashi the copy ninja, I believe. Kakashi nodded. Sasori looked at the others. So there are 5 of you, not counting all the clones of course. He smiled at them. And you think you have me outnumbered? Even with your partner and discounting the clones, it's still 5-2 and we are all of us of Chunin or Jonin level. With Sasuke there, that was a lie, but Kakashi saw no reason to mention that. Sasori laughed and pulled out a scroll. Count again. With a large puff of smoke 100 puppets appeared around him. You are the ones who are outnumbered. You're bluffing, Temari shouted out angrily. My brother is a puppet master and I know for a fact that it's impossible for a single person to manipulate more than 10 puppets at once. No matter how skilled you are, you can't use all these puppets at the same time. You think not. With a blurred wave of his hands, all 100 gathered into a circle surrounding him and raced around in perfect motion. I am Sasori of the Red Sands and I am no ordinary puppet master. With these puppets I have defeated entire armies and conquered nations. Against them and me you have no hope of victory or even of survival. However, I have no quarrel with you. Return Gaara to me and I will spare you. Spare us? Naruto screamed. You Akatsuki bastard, I'm going to kill you for what you did. And you don't have us outnumbered. He felt the anger fill him and with it the red chakra. Multiple shadow clones technique. As he completed the last hand sign, the entire area was filled with a pall of smoke. Every one of them who watched could feel their hairs stand up as the chakra pulsed through the very air. And when that massive puff of smoke lifted, they were all amazed to see 2,000 clones surrounding Sasori and his puppets. What? Sakura looked on stunned. Naruto, you truly are amazing. Kakashi thought. Damn it. Sasuke thought. How can you be so powerful? He clenched his fists in bitter frustration as the gap between them was made abundantly clear. How can I ever beat my brother when I'm not even a match for you? Sasori looked at the one he assumed to be the original and spoke calmly. Ah, I think I understand. You are obviously a leaf ninja and given your tirade just now you clearly care deeply for Gaara's fate. Why? He is a ninja from another village. Because he's my friend. He is precious to me and I won't let anyone hurt him. A friend? Are you sure of that? He is after all just a Jinchuriki. Just a sad freak his village used to contain the Shukaku. He is not even human, he is a monster. Shut up. Temari screamed at him. You're the only monster here. That's right. I hate you Akatsuki bastards. You don't even see Gaara as a human being. To you all he is something to be used and thrown away. He's a human being, damn it, and he deserves to be treated like one. Naruto shouted. Sasori laughed. You would feel that way, wouldn't you? You are after all a Jinchuriki as well and the possessor of the Kyuubi. What? Sakura gasped. That explains it. Sasuke thought. He is. Temari gasped. And suddenly it all made sense just why Naruto had been able to reach Gaara where no one else ever had. That's why so many people in his village seemed to hate him. He must have gone through everything Gaara did growing up. She looked back down to see Naruto was looking back at them. She could see by the look on his face he was afraid what they would think. He endured that pain and somehow he never gave up. Even after being hated by his entire village he still believed in caring about and protecting others. She shut her eyes and a single tear fell. Uzumaki Naruto, arigato. Even in the middle of a battlefield Naruto felt panic that his secret was being told to his precious people. He turned back to look at them. Kakashi knew, of course. Temari was surprised but seemed accepting. Sasuke was the same. He saw surprise but no fear of hatred. Then he looked to Sakura. He saw her eyes and the way she was looking at him. He turned away as he felt an old and familiar hurt. Sasori laughed. They didn't know, did they? No, he choked out. My sensei knew, but not the others. Still think you're just a normal human being. You are a monster, and that is the only way the world will ever see you. No, one day they will see me as Hokage. All 2,000 clones pulled out kunai and took a menacing step forward. But you won't be alive to see it. The one Naruto clone who had taken Gaara was sitting down beside him underneath the shade of a pine tree. The plan had been to get Gaara to this spot a safe distance away from the fighting. The clone was surprised when a clay spider landed on his head. Before he could try to get it off, it exploded and he puffed out of existence. Deidara quickly landed and got off his steed. This has been a lot more trouble than Master Sasori or I ever expected. As he hurried to Gaara, his body suddenly froze in place. What is this? It's called Shadow Possession Technique. It's a specialty of the Nara clan. A friendly disembodied voice answered. Who the hell said that? Against his will, Deidara stood up and turned towards a tree on his right. There, as he watched, a leaf ninja seemed to materialize out of thin air. Nara Shikamaru, at your service. I suspected that since Gaara was your goal, that if we got him away from the rest of the team, one of you would try to get him back while we were busy with the other. Deidara stuffed his hands into the pockets of his cloak and began walk in a mimicry of his captor's movements. What are you planning to do to me? Deidara asked as he came to a halt in front of a large oak tree. I plan to make you bow. Huh. Standing in open space, Shikamaru bowed. As Deidara did the same, he smacked his head against the tree and knocked himself out. Sasori realized he was about to die. He had truly not expected that. He had gone into this operation certain that he and his partner were powerful enough to deal with Gaara and his insignificant escort. And they had been. But none of their plans had involved fighting a second Jinchuriki, and one more powerful than Gaara. When they had run into each other, he'd had no idea until all those shadow clones came into existence what he was facing. Even then, he'd felt sure he was strong enough to deal with it. His puppets were lightning fast and deadly, and he had used them with all his usual skill and flair. But the numbers had simply been too uneven, and when the other ninjas joined in, he began losing puppets to their combined attacks. Chidori, fire jutsus, wind attacks, and that girl with her crushing strength. And he'd been unable to harm a single one of them. Whenever an opening appeared, a clone was sure to jump in to protect his target from harm. He destroyed hundreds upon hundreds of clones, but it helped not at all as he kept losing puppets. Now he was at the end. He had only 4 puppets left and was surrounded by the ninjas and the remaining 100 or so clones. Actually, the dark-haired ninja seemed at the end of his tether, but the rest looked eager to keep fighting. He could have transferred himself to any of his other puppets, but that did him no good when they were all surrounded. If you surrender, I still guarantee your life. Kakashi repeated. Sasori thought about it for a moment but slowly shook his head. If you've beaten me, then I deserve only destruction. However, I will give you a reward for defeating me. I believe you leaf ninjas still have a quarrel with Orochimaru. You might say that, Kakashi answered carefully. He was once a member of our organization and was in fact my partner. Since his betrayal, I have made it a point of keeping track of him. Go to the Tenchi Bridge in the Grass Village at noon 10 days from now. I have a spy within Orochimaru's subordinates and I am to meet with him there. Why should we believe you? A still bitter and angry Naruto asked. Sasori answered. Because the dead have no reason to lie. He launched himself at Naruto. Rasengan. He leapt forward to meet the attack. Without a second thought, he drove his Rasengan into his enemy's chest and without knowing it into the cylinder which contained his human heart. Destroying the heart, blood splattered onto Naruto's face and clothes. Sasori was thrown back and collapsed to the ground, filled with the wreckage of his puppets. With his last bit of energy, he looked up into a clear blue sky and slowly shut his eyes. I wonder if I'll see mother and father. The remaining 4 puppets collapsed to the earth. The 5 of them stood there tired and huffing. With a thought, Naruto dismissed the last of his clones. Tired, he looked up at Sakura. Seeing his red eyes and blood splattered on his face, she flinched just a bit and looked away. I'm going to go check on Gaara, Naruto quickly said. Kakashi nodded. All right, we'll finish up here. I'm coming with you, Temari said. Gaara. He slowly opened his eyes. He saw a young blonde-haired man smiling down at him. Uzumaki Naruto, he said in a weak voice. Gaara, how are you feeling? Temari asked. I am exhausted but otherwise fine. How are Kankuro and Matsuri? They're both on their way to Konoha as we speak. We had Sakura, the Hokage's apprentice and a medic nin with us. She was able to stabilize Matsuri's condition before we sent her out. Will she be all right? Temari shook her shoulders in a helpless gesture. We don't know. She turned to Naruto and without warning leaned forward and kissed his cheek. Thank you, Naruto, for all that you have done for my brother, not just today but from the beginning. Blushing a bit, he scratched the back of his head. You're welcome. Don't get any ideas, Naruto, she's taken. Shikamaru commented. Hey, no problem, I'm in love with Hinata. Hey. 4 sets of eyes turned to their prisoner. How long are you going to leave me tied to this tree? Don't worry. I'm sure we'll be leaving soon. Shikamaru said dryly. There's a charming fellow named Ibiki who I'm sure you'll be getting to know. Naruto nodded his firm agreement. Looking at his friend and knowing what nearly happened to him, a few talks with Ibiki were nothing. Gaara was trying to stand. Naruto put a hand under his arm and helped him to his feet. Gaara looked at him and slowly nodded. Thank you, Naruto. He smiled. Anytime, Gaara. That's what friends are for.